Hi guys, only me again. So this bonus module is all about fat loss fundamentals. So this is the stuff that if you can absolutely nail this, these are the things that you should go back to time and time again to achieve your fat loss results in the future. And I am so excited to talk you through these because it can sometimes feel like they are simple and that they are straightforward, and that, maybe there's something that you think, oh, I already knew this. You might already know it, but are you doing it? Are you consistently ticking these boxes off? And that's just where you can really self-analyze. You can look into yourself to see if you are doing them or not. So, first things first, the first concept that you need to understand is called energy balance. So, in order to really understand fat loss, you need to get your head around this, that your body must burn more energy than it consumes to create a fat loss environment. There really is like no other option. So, as I've put, there's no magic pill, no secret sauce, there's no shake, there's nothing that doesn't put your body into this state along the way, regardless of how it gets dressed up on social media or on the telly. It is always going to come back down to a energy balance which is in the right direction, where your body's burning more energy than it's consuming. If like this is literally all you take away from today's webinar, then I would be really happy with that, because as long as you have that in the back of your mind and you are constantly reminding yourself of this, then you will start doing things that bring you into that state. So before we go into the details on how to create an energy balance, I just want to talk through some very popular diet methods. I'm sure some of these you will have all experienced along the way, maybe multiple ones. So first up, we've got the 5-2 diet. We've got Weight Watchers, Slimming World, the 16-8 intermittent fasting. We've got the keto diet. We've got C9 diet, one of my personal experiences. We've got the juice cleanse. We've got slim fast shakes. I'm sure that most of you have experienced at least one of these, and I know that I can speak from experience on multiple ones of these. So what I want to do is just break down a few of them to show you how they fit into this energy balance state. So the first one that I'm going to talk a bit more detail about is the 5-2. So with the 5-2 diet, you spend 5 days eating relatively regularly, and then you'll spend 2 days in a calorie deficit, so where you're eating a lot less food. Now, it's exactly the same as if you were like spending money over the weekend, like you was out all weekend, obviously not right now because of COVID, but you was out all weekend, you spent loads of money, then for the rest of the week you would be really cautious with your money, and that's essentially what you're doing with the 5-2, but in reverse. So you're spending 5 days of, just doing what you want, just chilling, and then 2 days where you really pull it back. With intermittent fasting, literally millennials have managed to make skipping breakfast into a diet method, because that is essentially all that the 16-8 is. It's closing the window that you have to eat food, so therefore you eat less food, which is again creating that energy balance where your body's burning more than it's consuming. Juice cleanses, obviously, if you're just drinking a juice instead of having a full meal, then you are not going to be eating as much as you were previously. Slimming World, they dress it up in a different way, but by labeling some foods sins and giving them a point system where they have more sins, the higher calorie they are generally, then you're going to avoid those foods. So that's going to create a calorie deficit and an energy balance. And then the last one that I want to talk about is the keto diet, because this is the one that's the most sciencey probably to the regular person. But essentially what the keto diet does is it removes a very big chunk of your food groups from your diet. So most foods that are carbohydrate based are not allowed on the keto diet. So therefore, by removing that full food group, you are again creating a calorie deficit. There isn't a single dietary method that I have come across, that the fitness industry professionals that I follow have come across, which doesn't somehow create an energy balance where your body's burning more than it's consuming. So it's not to say that there is anything specifically wrong with these diet plans. However, if you are wanting to make a lifelong change, you aren't going to be able to follow the keto diet for the rest of your life. There's going to be times come up where you want to eat carbs and where you want to have cake. Similarly with the 5-2, it might work for your lifestyle to eat like that, which is completely okay. But as long as you understand that there isn't anything special or unique about what you're doing with the 5-2, it is just a different way of creating a calorie deficit and an energy balance, then that's okay. It's okay to follow these plans if they fit in your lifestyle. But for most regular people, like for me, I enjoy eating a bit of everything food. So a plan which tells me that I can't eat certain foods on certain days just doesn't really work for me. I just prefer to be able to eat what I want, when I want, but within reason. And that is what we are going to be talking about more next. So before we go on to it, obviously I've mentioned the word calorie a couple of times. I've mentioned carbohydrates, but I want to make sure that you understand what this means. So you'll see on packets of food, the sign kcal stands for kilocalorie, and a calorie is essentially the energy needed to raise the temperature of 1 gram of water through 1 degree Celsius. Now, this is just a measurement of energy. So when I talked about that your energy, your body must burn more energy than it consumes, everything that you eat and drink has a caloric value, whether it's 0 or whether it's an actual number, they all have a value. And when you burn energy in exercise and non-exercise activity, you are burning calories. So it's the measurement of the energy that your body consumes and burns. Now, every food has a calorie value, and every food can also be broken down into one of these 3 macronutrients. So food in general, 80 calories, but then if you want to break it down more, some foods are classed as proteins, some are carbohydrates, and some are fats. Some will have, a bit of all of these in them. A lot of processed foods will be, like mostly protein, but a bit of fats, or the other way around. But they will all fall into one of these 3 categories. So proteins are all of your meat sources, all of your fish, seafood sources, and dairy products. As a whole, we can go into much more detail than that, but right now, that's what you want to know. Carbohydrates are breads, wheat-based products, fruits and vegetables, rice and grains. They have different amounts of carbohydrates in them, but they all fall into the carbohydrate bucket. And then fats are traditionally oils and spreads, sauces, and dairy products are the ones that sit across 2. So, for example, eggs have a high source of fat in them, but they are also protein. So that gives you a bit of a background that every food that you eat will fall into one of these 3 categories. So now that you understand what calories are, and you understand energy balance, it's time to talk about the calorie deficit. So, as I mentioned at the start, your body must burn more energy than it consumes to create a fat loss environment. And this fat loss environment is known as a calorie deficit. Because in order to drop body fat, you must be consuming less calories, so creating a deficit, than what you are burning through day-to-day life. And the diagram that you can see below here is an example of what your body actually uses calories for. So it's not got no relevance to how much calories you eat, it's in percentages, but it is what percentage of your total daily energy expenditure. That's what TDEE stands for. So the energy that you expend, what is that broken down into? Like, what are we using it on? And most of the time when I ask people this question, like, where do you think you spend the most calories? They'll say, oh, well, I did a 1 hour workout and I burned like 600 calories. So what we have to remember is that a 1 hour workout is 1 hour of 24 hours in a day. Even if you work out every single day, it's still just 1 hour of a 24-hour period. And actually, it's the least amount of energy that you expend in a day. So as you can see from the screen, the biggest chunk is on something called BMR. That is 70% of the total calories that you burn. Now, BMR stands for Basal Metabolic Rate. And essentially what that means is that if you were to just lay on your bed, not move, not do a single thing, like lay completely static, if you think of somebody, you know, not to be like morbid, but if you think of somebody who is paralyzed and can't move, then 70% of the energy that you expend is on keeping your body alive, keeping your body functioning, you know, keeping your cells reproducing, keeping you breathing, keeping your heart pumping. And you think your body's got to do that 24/7, 365 days a year for your whole life. So it makes sense that actually the majority of calories you need, you actually need them just to keep yourself alive. And this is why when I see people on super low calorie diets, it is so wrong for them to ever believe that they have to do that, because they're not giving their body what it needs. So after that, you can see that the next 15% is on something called NEAT. NEAT stands for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And thermogenesis is just the burning of calories. So it's basically non-exercise activity. So I'm talking right now, I'm waving my hands around because that's how I, you know, kind of present. That is burning calories. I will walk up and down the stairs. I'll go to the toilet. I'll maybe do the vacuuming. I will go to the shops. All this stuff you are doing is burning calories, and it's not exercise. And you will spend, as I mentioned before, 23 hours of the day doing that type of stuff, just 1 hour exercising. So again, it's all about when you give it perspective that actually this is why you may hear people talking about step goals, talking about how you should be like trying to move more. That's what that all relates to. After this, the next 10% goes on the thermic effect of food, or TEF. Now, when you consume food in your body, that food has to be broken down. And if you're anything like me, you eat relatively regularly, so your body is doing this pretty much all day. So again, it makes sense that 10% of the calories that you burn throughout the day are burned by breaking down the food that's in your body so it can be used to then give you more energy. And finally, that little sliver along the top, that 5%, is your exercise activity thermogenesis. So as I mentioned, if you are somebody who exercises, you know, on average 3 to 4 times a week for an hour at a time, that is 4 hours out of a full week, which I can't work out off the top of my head right now how many hours are in a week, but that is what you have got. And so it does actually make sense now that even if you're burning a hell of a lot of calories in that hour, it is still just 1 hour. So by taking a look at all of these things, there are certain ones which we can control. Obviously, we can't control your basal metabolic rate. Like, that is your metabolism. That is something that even if people tell you, oh, it's going to boost your metabolism, it's going to make your body work faster, oh, I've got a high metabolism, regardless of what it is, it's your metabolism and you physically can't do anything to change that. But we can have an impact on the other three. which we'll talk about later down the line. But now you can see what things you've got control over to create this calorie deficit. And that is obviously going to give you information and fuel to allow you to consider fat loss fundamentals for the rest of your life. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about now is the fat loss hierarchy. And I've shared this on my Instagram, but this is what you really, really need to drum into your head for you to be able to achieve fat loss forever. So we start at the bottom as the hierarchy of importance, and then at the top is the least important. So number one is always going to be finding something which is sustainable that you can adhere to. So it's all very well and good saying, oh, I'm going to exercise 6 days a week for 2 hours at a time. But if you currently don't do any exercise, you may do that for 1 week, you may be able to do it for 2 weeks, but you're not going to be able to do it for very long. So again, when we talk about perspective, in the grand scheme of your life, is that something that's really going to create significant change in your body? No, it's not. So we have to create a program for you which is sustainable and that you can adhere to day to day, week to week, month to month, that is going to give you flexibility for your life, but going to fit in with your life. So you won't know what that is, or might not know what that is right now, but that's what it's about us creating over the next 12 weeks. After that, your second most important thing is your calorie deficit. So making sure that you are in a calorie deficit. Even for people who don't exercise, like there are people who don't exercise who can lose weight, like obviously like the severely obese, where they'll just be walking, they won't specifically be doing like a HIIT class or anything like that. They can still lose weight because they focus on the second most important thing, which is the calorie deficit. After that, we do want you to be focusing on exercise, because exercise has so many other benefits than just thinking about fat loss, but it is like the third most important thing when it comes to achieving a fat loss environment. Number 4 is called self-monitoring. And this is where you really, especially if you're an online client, really have to pay attention, because this is where it's for you to be able to reflect, analyze, work out what's working for you, what's not working for you, and change it to be something that works better if it's not working. Number 5 is your protein and fiber. So higher protein diets are linked to better fat loss results. And this is for various reasons that I'll go into later down the line. Fiber is also super important for you as it supports your body's digestive system, make sure that everything's moving properly. After that, we then look at carb and fat macros. So controlling your carbs and your fats comes next. And then finally, right at the very top, after all of that, is supplements. So this isn't to say that you should be doing all of this right now. If anything, it's the complete opposite. The way that I always work with my clients is we start from the bottom and we work our way up. We agree a program which is sustainable that you can adhere to. We get you to focus on the calorie deficit. We then add exercise in. We then review, do weekly check-ins and analyze. I set you a protein target. And then if we need to, we'll go into the 2 above that. So we'll look at carbs and fats and supplements. But in most cases, we don't even need to go that high. So that's what's really exciting about this. If anybody has questions about this, then please do let me know. I'm more than happy to answer extra questions on this one. Okay, so as I just mentioned about protein, we're now going to talk a little bit about high protein diets. So because we're moving into the more detailed elements of the fat loss fundamentals, we move on to the notion of having a high protein diet during a fat loss phase. And this is something that I personally really, really recommend to my clients. And it's something that I will promote really heavily with clients, and I will, coach them on how to do. Some coaches don't. This is my personal preference that I do. And there are a number of reasons for this. So protein is vital for muscle repair and growth. Like that's one of its number one functions. However, when you're in a fat loss phase, it also increases satiety, which is the feeling of fullness. So a higher protein diet, you are going to feel fuller for longer. And obviously, when you're in a fat loss phase and all the calories count, then you really want to be feeling full as long as possible. Not only that, but it also has, out of the macronutrients, the highest TEF. So it has the highest thermic effect on your body, meaning that your body will burn more calories as it breaks it down than if it broke down the same amount of carbohydrates or fats. And obviously, again, we want you to be burning as many calories as possible. You need the others, you need carbs and you need fats in your diet to have a balanced diet. But if we can increase the number of the amount of protein in your diet as well, then this is just only going to benefit you. So for this reason, during your program, I will be setting you a protein target as well as a calorie target for each day. Well, it is something I'll support you with. We'll work on it week on week. You don't have to be perfect at it to start off with. And if you are somebody who has, specific dietary requirements, I have a number of clients who don't enjoy eating meat. That's completely okay. I also have vegan clients. We can still create a high protein diet even as a vegan. So just kind of make sure that you're aware of that. Something to think about in the run up to us starting together. And then finally, the last bit that I want to really focus on is non-exercise activity. So as you saw from the diagram, NEAT accounts for more calories than exercise. It does make sense now that you think about it, doesn't it? This is why there is generally a step goal introduced in a lot of fat loss programs, because the principle of it is to get you up and moving more. The more you move, the more calories you burn. And life nowadays is really designed to make us more and more sedentary. Even somebody who is going to the gym 4 times a week, but they work in an office, they're still classed as a sedentary person. So I really want you guys, you will be set a step goal, and I really want you to understand why you have this step goal. It's not just a case of to get you like to go on a walk every day. It's got multiple benefits. So things that you can do to increase your NEAT that don't have to be a specific like going for a walk, that are things that you can just incorporate into your day-to-day life without it really having any detrimental effects, are things like taking the stairs instead of the lift. This is a really common one. And honestly, we all know how knackered we get from just going up the stairs. So it's got a really good benefit. Parking in the furthest car parking spaces, anywhere you go. If you go into the food shop, if you go into the normal shops, like just park further away. You've got an extra benefit because it's easier to find a parking space in the spots that are further away. So you're going to be less likely to be driving around. You're going to get those few extra steps in, and it's just going to be multiple benefits. If you use public transport, make sure you stand. There's no reason for you to need to sit. You can stand up. You have 2 legs. That's what they're designed for. And if you work from home and you are on a meeting, on a call, put your headphones in, unplug your laptop from the charger, just walk around, do other little jobs whilst you're on a call. Like I always have my phone on speaker when I'm on calls with people, and I'll be doing other stuff whilst I'm on the call generally. And you'll find that people who are fidgets and who move a lot, like myself, like I'm always up and doing something. I don't sit still for very long. Even if I do, like I'm tapping my feet, I'm moving my hands. Naturally, we burn more calories because we're doing all those little things. Now, that's not something that you can really create, but just be aware that the more you move, the more calories you are going to burn, and the easier it'll be to keep the weight off later down the line if you introduce these habits into your day-to-day life. And they form an identity that you won't want to break. Like you are the person that always takes the stairs instead of the lift. You're the person that make sure that you are parking in the furthest car parking spaces. So it's really, really important and something that you can literally start immediately. Okay, and then the final bit is this whole concept of eat less, move more. So to round up, I'm sure along your weight loss journey, you've had some twat say, just eat less and move more. It's simple. All you have to do is eat less and move more. And it's not actually that straightforward for somebody who doesn't understand it when it's broken down. But hopefully now you are starting to see how simple it is. Doing these basics, making sure that you are doing them consistently, we should really start to see your fat loss results come through. And if for whatever reason we don't, I'm here to help. So hopefully this is giving you something really useful to take away and think about, to start to introduce new habits into your day-to-day lifestyle. And I shall see you all on the next time. All right, guys, I'll speak to you soon. Have a great day and bye.